So when I did my initial unboxing review of Bandai's fairly new version 3.0 RX-78, I had said that I was a little underwhelmed with the engineering improvements that they had made since the 2.0 back in 2008, which I've always said has been my favorite version of that particular mobile suit, and well, I was really hoping this one would wow me and might take that title away, but can't say that it did. That's not to say that I don't like this thing a lot. This was a really fun build. It had some really neat design features, but it struck me more as an upgrade of the 2.0 in the same way as the 1.5 was an upgrade of the original. Like, there's too much engineering in this that's the same as in the 2.0. As I said in the unboxing, it even shares a lot of parts. Most of the beam rifle is the same. Most of the shield is the same. The core fighter is the same. The engineering of the torso is largely the same. The engineering of the waist assembly is largely the same. The only thing that's really different is the engineering of the arms, the legs, and some features in the head. And also the backpack, which actually has a really cool feature in it that I will focus on momentarily. So yeah, it's a nice kit, but there's things about it that I just don't like. I'm not thrilled about. So let's take a closer look. In the unboxing video, I went into some detail about the differences between the anime style proportions and the perfect grade style proportions. Mostly, you could tell the difference by referring to the chest vents. The anime style being like this, with no housing around them, and the perfect grade having this yellow box housing around the vents. The version 2.0, like, it was perfectly the anime proportions. It was very lean, had very small shoulder armors, had a very slim, very flat chest, very thin legs, and not a lot of prominent surface detail. This version kind of seems like it's trying to hybridize the Master Grade, or the anime style and the perfect grade style proportions. You can see it's got the really bulky, big shoulder armors, which, aside from having this split in them with the different armor color and actually a slightly articulated panel here that really doesn't serve a lot of purpose, which I will get into later, these look like they're directly off of the perfect grade kit in terms of their shape and proportions. The head has more of to me, more of a perfect grade style aesthetic. It seems a little bit bigger, a little bulkier, a little bit meaner. It's really only the chest that maintains the aesthetic of the anime style with the sunken in chest vents. But even the overall proportions of it, it just seems more, it seems bigger. It seems more like super heroic proportions. The bigger shoulders, bigger, bulkier torso, thicker legs, bigger overall arms. Overall, this is like, let's say, this is the Arnold Schwarzenegger to the Van Damme. You know, they both accomplish the same task, being, you know, action heroes, but they do it in completely different ways. And we'll talk a little bit, we'll set the weapons aside and we'll talk about them a little bit later. They peg in quite securely to the hands, at least the beam rifle does. The shield is on a clamp that has a tendency to slide around, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. I went into great detail in the unboxing about the hands themselves. These hands are great in terms of their detail and articulation, but they just seem to be a little bit too big. They look like they're off of just a mobile suit that's just a little bit larger than this one should be. Like, in order for this thing to really fit these hands, it should be maybe half a centimeter or maybe a full centimeter even taller than it is. They just look wrong. Now, like I said, though, the articulation in them is great, and they're perfectly well able to move in any way that you need them to form a fist or grab any of the weapons that it's equipped with, or you can move them into any kind of cheeky pose you can imagine, and the armor panel is always popping off the back. They just seem a little oversized, and that might be a necessity simply because of the articulation that they put into them, that they just might not have been able to shrink them down enough and maintain solidity. But that's kind of a strike against the model for me. Another thing I'm not crazy about is the use of the multiple colors. The white and gray armor doesn't bother me. It's the differences between the red. You can kind of see there's some red and some sort of magenta-ish pink sort of on the flank here. And the blue, this kind of baby blue they use on the side of the chest and on the cockpit doors. I just don't like that contrast. I don't think it works all that well for me. Like I said though, the shades of gray, the 3 different shades of gray are great. But it's the blue and the red. I think they would have been much better suited just sticking with the standard, the straight blue and the straight red without bothering with the color variations. Articulation-wise, it's fantastic. You know, you got your full universal shoulders and hinged shoulders. They do have a tendency to pop off a little bit, and there goes an armor panel that I'll probably never find. Their swivels, good 180-degree elbows. This is another complaint that I have, actually, before I go too far, is these shoulder armors, they don't secure very well to the arms. They're on this little ring, fits over the polycap, and in theory is supposed to be pinned in place when the arm is secured to the shoulder, but it never really locks in place very well, and when you move the arm has a tendency to slip out a little bit on the peg, and then the shoulder armor itself can pop off a little bit. So it has a tendency to just come loose and rattle a little bit. Now the head has a double ball joint. If you remember from the unboxing, it's actually on a clear peg, so if you wanted to light it, you could. But it's got a really expressive range of motion. You can even get some Night at the Roxbury action going here. You got a lot of... that's how you actually that's how you light it. You can attach the module right there, and you can see that's where that armor panel popped off. It's not the most secure, but you can get a good up and a pretty good down look. Rotation side to side, of course, is unrestricted because this Gundam has a very small collar, and as I showed, you got a lot of side to side tilt, so you can kind of have quizzical expressiveness in its pose. I wanted to mention the backpack. The backpack has a really neat feature. The main pair of thrusters are on a unified hinge, but they are also on individual ball joints. But this hinge, if you pop it up just a little bit past where you think it should go, the entire armor panel on the backpack module will lift up just a little bit and let these thrusters point out directly backwards. There's also a set of smaller sub-thrusters on the underside there for maneuvering, which is a neat feature. And as I said in the unboxing, they have clear inserts, though why I'm not sure, because it would be virtually impossible to light them. I won't say impossible, because I'm sure somewhere out there someone has or can and has been able to do it, but I don't know how they ever would. As is standard for RX-78, it can split in half into 3 modules. You got the torso module, the leg module, and the core fighter. Right now I just have the separate core block installed and the core fighter set aside. The core block itself is very basic. Some really nice molding on it with some engine part detail molded into it. But it's hollow on the back, so it's just there for show. It doesn't really do anything. Core fighter, on the other hand, is it's a standard Gundam core fighter of the modern aesthetic. So it has the same full transformability as every core fighter since, I believe, the gun cannon in Master Grade, which I think it was the first one that had the ability to actually retract the tail on its own. Everyone prior to that the tail had to be removed. And the wings fold up, and the cockpit nose retracts, and there you have your core block. And it transforms back just the same way. This one has a feature, I'm not sure if it was included in any of the previous versions. The pilot seat can actually fold up so that when the core block is when the core fighter is in core block mode, the pilot is still sitting upright as opposed to, you know, face down, strapped in. It also has an opening cockpit. I think I have to flip the seat back though. The cockpit opens as it does on the show by retracting into the housing here as opposed to lifting up, but it is rather difficult to extricate, especially with my big, meaty, giant fingers, because there's not a lot of real estate to grab on that thing with your fingers. So I think ideally most people would want to use tweezers to pull it out. It also has pop-up missile launchers, which were seen in the show, but were first introduced to the core fighter models with the perfect grade, and I think scaled down for Master Grade form with the version 2.0, and then carried over with the gun tank and then into this one. The gun tank, I think, also was the one that introduced the slide-out wings. So instead of just unfolding and being kind of stubby wings, they actually have like a slight extension to give them a little bit more of a slightly extended profile. It does have landing gear, separate landing gear parts. They're molded in clear. I think I showed them in the unboxing video. They're nothing too special. They just kind of plug into the bottom. I don't know why they're clear, but it seems kind of silly. But it plugs into the waist, same as the core block module does, and then the whole thing slides together and locks in relatively securely. You do have to give it a little bit of a tug. There's 5 tabs along the bottom of this perimeter that kind of grab and lock it in place. The waist skirt armors are ball jointed and hinged, so there's lots of movement on there, so no hindrance to the legs for the front skirt armors. The side skirt armors are on a double ball jointed single hinged module, so you can see these two move in unison, so the rear and side move together. It's kind of a cumbersome design. I'm not crazy about it, but it was something that was carried over from the version 2.0, and I wasn't crazy about it then, because it just leads to things getting misaligned. There's a flip-out latch for the bazooka. The Hyper Bazooka on the back of the skirt armor. It flips shut and it's very inobtrusive, but again, with my big hands and poorly manicured fingernails, it's very difficult to get the thing to flip around properly. Another neat feature that was I don't remember if it was included in the 2.0 or not, but probably was. It seems like the kind of thing they would have had. Is this the crest on the cod piece actually can fold down, and both for maintenance purposes, but also to emulate a scene from somewhere early in the series when the white base, the carrier that the Gundam operates out of, is entering the atmosphere and coming to Earth. Gundam is separated from white base and has to make re-entry on its own, and this releases a hyper-cooled gas that surrounds the Gundam and allows it to survive re-entry on its own, which, when I first saw that, was pretty frickin' rad. Most series since have, maybe not most, but quite a lot of series since have had some kind of Gundam that has some ability to allow it to survive re-entry on its own. Anyway, onto the legs. As I said, these skirt armors offer a very wide range of movement for the hips. So you've got your full 180 degrees front to back. I've got a thigh swivel You got your standard double jointed knees with shifting armor parts. You can see this thigh cover does shift down, as does the kneecap, which splits in half to allow for a slightly improved armor coverage. And then the ankle, it's a double jointed ankle, so you got a hinge at the upper ankle and then a ball joint on the foot. The foot has a lot of range of motion. You can see the primary foot ball joint is very free, but the foot itself also has two sub hinges, one for the toe and one for the heel. So you can get a pretty expressive walking pose out of this thing. And then you've got your ankle armor, which it's quite stiff, but has a fairly decent range of movement on it as well. Overall, the posability on this thing is great. Aside from the kind of slightly derped shoulders, the posability on this thing overall is quite fantastic. So we're going to set this aside for now, and we're going to take a look at the weapons, starting with the shield. The shield, very much a standard RX-78 type shield. Has the blast shield. There's no glass in it, which I don't remember if the version 2.0 had. I don't think it did, but most previous versions did have a clear plastic window. Even the perfect grade did as well. But there is a pop-up blast shield that you can close over it. And like the version 2.0, these little sort of square latches with pegs in them have these little switch-out pegs that can pop out the front. So one of the features of the 2.0 is that you could stack shields together. I'm really not sure why. I don't know if it was ever done in the animation, but it was possible to stack two shields on top of each other using these pegs by simply removing the cross from the back of, or from the front of the back shield. So the two would stack together and they'd fit quite well. So this one can do that if you happen to have another one of these types of shields, but I don't, so I can't demonstrate that. The attachment latch, it's on a slider, so you can position it high or low on the forearm, however you like. It clamps onto the forearm here, and there is a rotation and a hinge, so you can get a fairly wide arrangement of positioning out of it. And there's also a handle, a grasping handle for it as well, which I think is essential because this clamp is not very sturdy. So you're really your only option is going to be, clamp it onto the back of the forearm and mount it on the side and have it grasping the shield. Otherwise, there's a good chance it's going to fall off. Beam rifle, it's 90% the same mold as with the 2.0. You've got your articulated camera sensor, articulated forward aiming handle, and the only part that's different is the hand grip, which I mentioned in the unboxing. There's actually a standard matching gray, like dark gray hand grip for it as well, but it does not have the fold-out peg to enable you to actually put it in the Gundam's hand. So you can see there's a peg right there, and there's a matching peg on the Gundam's palm, so this peg fits into the slot, and there's a second peg that fits into the slot there, so it matches up really well, and it locks in really, really tightly, even without the fingers gripping it. It's a nice design. You can take off the camera sensor, and then the armor panel here you can pop off, and you can see kind of the mechanical insides of it. It actually streamlines it really well. It makes it into kind of more of a modern assault rifle style, which looks really, really neat actually. It holds it quite well. As I said, the peg allows it to grip it really well, but you can get a good two-handed pose out of it, and with the camera sensor you can set it however you like. It's a really nice beam rifle, but it's still the same one that came with the last one. In fact, though, I think the opening here, if you happen to have any perfect grade Gundams with that. If they came with a pink beam saber blade, I think you can fit the beam saber blade in here and create kind of a blaster effect part if you wanted to do that. And finally, we have the Hyper Bazooka. Pretty much the same exact Hyper Bazooka as what came with the 2.0. The hand grip is on a bit of a hinge, so you can articulate it a little bit. Again, like the beam rifle, it's the only part that's changed out from the 2.0 because it has the same tab to allow the hand to lock into it. The magazine is not detachable. I thought the magazine was detachable, but it's not. But you can see that there is an assortment of warheads inside. And then there's a fold-out peg on the back that allows it to plug into the rear skirt. So, and finally we have the beam sabers, which have the same tab that folds away to allow the Gundam's hand to securely hold it. They use the same teardrop-shaped beam saber blades that Master Grade kits have been using pretty much since the beginning. Not much else to say. They're simple three-piece beam saber handles. They got some good detail on them. There's a detail on the end here that looks like it could be like an energy power socket port. Not much else to say. So that, though, is the RX-78 version 3 Master Grade in a nutshell. So pretty much my final thoughts on the Master Grade version RX-78 version 3. It does a lot of things really well. It does a lot of things okay, and it does, unfortunately, a few too many things not great. It feels to me like it's over-engineered for its size. And I know it's emulating the real grade, which their whole point is that they're over-engineered, but they're not over-engineered. They're appropriately over-engineered for their size. This one is over-engineered. It's trying to do too much for the size that it is, and that really affects the stability, and it doesn't make for it makes what could have been a absolutely first-rate, 100% top-notch kit, and knocks it down to me to probably about a B+ at best. As you probably saw when I was showing off the shoulder articulation, that one armor panel popped off. I doubt I'm ever going to find it. Probably flew off into a box in the corner somewhere, and if I ever find it, I will be shocked. That's assuming that one of the pegs didn't break when it flew off. So I may, even if I do find it, I may never be able to reattach it. It does a lot, like I said, it does a lot of things really well, but the things that it does badly just bog it down, and it makes it a drag. It's definitely not going to knock off the version 2.0 as my favorite version of RX-78. In fact, it's not even going to knock off the One Year War version as my second favorite. This is going to hold on as probably in the number 3 spot for Master Grade RX-78s. Because it tries to do too much. You know, I know it's trying to emulate the new style proportions of, you know, kind of hybridizing the anime style with the perfect grade style from the mid-90s. You know, like I said, the big shoulders, big chest, the Arnold Schwarzenegger type versus the leaner, slimmer Van Damme type of the anime style, and it doesn't do it well, and it's a disappointment to me. So that's pretty much my verdict. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this because everywhere else I've been reading, everyone is loving this thing. From, you know, top scores everywhere, you know, saying it's the second coming, the greatest Master Grade ever made, blah blah blah. I wish I could agree, but sadly I just don't. It's got too many little flaws, too many little things wrong with it that just drag it down just that little bit too much for me. That said, though, I do like it. I did enjoy building it. It was a fun build. but it's not gonna get a permanent spot on my shelf. I'm going to, next time I'm back home in Victoria, I'm going to try and dig out my version 2.0. I'm going to see if I can find it, bring out some of my other Master Grades from that era, the late part of last decade, my Gelgoogs, my Zakus, whatever else I can find. I'm going to bring them out and try and find a spot to display them, and this one's going to end up in a box somewhere, collecting dust and being sad. So tomorrow we are going to take a look at the real grade Gundam Mark II Titans version, which I had a much more positive experience building, save for a couple little things that were kind of sucky about it. But we're going to get to that tomorrow. Thanks everyone out there for watching, and happy modeling.